Great to see you today. Again, we have a great episode. We're going to be talking about what you need to do to begin with a DAO. What is it? All of those things. This is DAO for Beginners with Doc and Brent. All the things with smart contracts, NFTs, all the things you need to know, and we'll go from there. So before we get started, Brent, how are we doing today?
I'm ready to get in. I'm antsy. It's been a lot of activity in the NFT space, a lot to learn, and we've received some questions from you all. So we definitely want to get into this whole decentralized, autonomous organization piece. And really, our goal is that you understand it better when we're done. And for those that have asked us questions, we will try to answer them today. And for those of you all who are just tuning in, like, what do you mean you're answering questions? Yes, we will answer questions as they come in live when we can. So if you are with us, please submit your questions. Don't just watch from a distance, get involved. And then also we have some new announcements coming probably next week that we'll tell you about.
Good times. Let's do this. So as we were talking about this, remember, we're going to first talk about what a DAO is, and then we're going to be looking at some examples. And then again, we're going to be talking about, because every single week we're talking about different things we're doing in the space and all those things. So just like Brent said before, and we have an episode earlier this month, what does a DAO mean? The definition: a decentralized autonomous organization. So just imagine it as a group, and you're paying for admittance into that. So if you're going to Disney World, you're going to something, guess what? You're exchanging something to get their type of token or admitting into that location. You're doing this just virtually, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Olympus DAO, and we're going to be talking about Friends with Benefits and where we are right here. So if you're new to this, Friends with Benefit, it is a DAO, and they just got funding from A16Z. So Andreessen Horowitz and those crew just put funding into that. So if you're looking at, wait, this is just a fad or they're just bootstrapping, no. Real investors, real money is getting infused into this. And Friends with Benefits, they also released their tokens to be held so you can do different things in their community. So we're going to be talking about this. And then also, we didn't talk about it before, Brent, but I'm going to be talking about Olympus DAO, Constitution DAO, and all those kind of things. So anything I missed or more details, something about this, Brent?
No, well, you didn't miss anything, but I'll add to it. You know, if you are thinking, like, why would I get a DAO? Like, I still don't fully understand what it is. Imagine, for those of you all who understand, you know, how companies run, they have a board of advisors. Imagine if they had everybody who joined was a slight member of the board. And I say slight because depending on the type of DAO that you get into, you might actually get voting rights. And one of the things is those voting rights help determine the direction of particular investments within the DAO. So you want to know that you're not just going in to sit by the sideline in some of them. You might get voting rights, and you might actually participate in the profits of a DAO, depending on how they structure themselves. So there are a lot of reasons for you to really be concerned. What are these things and how do they grow? Because it could mean growing your money and or getting you access that you otherwise would not have had.
Excellent. I love it. Concise. Great to see. So when you're trying to get access to this, every single organization that you try to get for your DAO, it's going to be a little bit different to get this type of membership, right? So if we're looking at Friends with Benefits, there's a admittance process. I did it last week. I did not get in. They're asking me for more details if I would be there. Bottom line, I'm not going to do it right now. And also too, like if I was going to do it, I want full access. I wasn't going to pay the 700. I'd probably do like the 7,500 if I really want to do it to really take advantage. So the mixture of me not getting admitted the first time made me also bitter. And then also I don't want to do more work. So there's that example. Brent, did you have time to try to join, or what happened with you?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with this one. I was still trying to buy the coin, and when I was in the process of getting the coin, it's done through a certain exchange. Like, you have to swap this coin. Yeah, and I didn't have a structure for me to swap it, and I got frustrated. So similar to you, I just decided I'll do it later on. And I think this is like perfect for you all to know. Some of these DAOs, it's not as if you just want to be a member and you just join. You actually, their criteria, they have to vote you in or allow you in And some of the DAOs require you to either buy the NFT, buy the coin, or have some extremely long application process. So just before you go in, because you heard it with Doc and Brent, there is a process. It's not just click and by default, I am a member.
Exactly. So let's go through a couple different ones that the next steps, different ones that I'm interested in, and kind of talking about like what I've learned and what I like and what I don't like. So one I wanted to bring up is Developer DAO. This is actually shout out to Justin. Justin's usually all over these things like months and ahead. So in July, he told me to join this thing. I was like, yeah, whatever. It was a pretty low price, but it's all of these different types of developers, from graphic designers to different things, developer, whatever you are, like if you're going to be doing things in Web3 or you an app developer. The point is, I joined this and I didn't really think anything of it. And then it actually sold out, actually. So the first level sold out. They're going to do some more coming up. They're going to be talking about it. But the other thing was I bought one token. So I got one. So if you're looking at it, like I bought it, it's very cheap. You see this right here. It's again, this is what different NFTs can look like. It's literally a list, but you have to show this in order to get in. And so I bought it. That's fine. I didn't really think anything of it. But now if you look at this right here, this is what happens. Now, if you're looking at, you're like, how is this? Well, look at what it's saying. Windows Vista, Sublime Text, Dart. It's different things associated with that NFT. So then people are minting and then getting this, right? So it's just something that shows that you're part of the community. As you can see across the board, a lot of these NFTs, a lot of these projects, if people are like, well, this doesn't look great, or how is this popular? You have to look at the community and what this means in what you're getting. It's not just about the art or if this is looking trendy. It's very all over the place. So it got sold out. We got the tokens for level 1, and we'll see what happens from now.
And Doc, before you move on from there, when to expand for those people who are like me and you're like, what did Doc just say? So when you have, he said, don't necessarily look at it because you're thinking this doesn't look great. He's saying that because you have to understand the smart contract behind it. And you have to understand what comes with that particular NFT. Is it access to developer DAO? Is it now you get a seat at the table? So you have to look at the benefits that come with it, not just the item itself. Is that correct, Doc?
Correct, exactly. And everything, I mean, I've been talking about Knights of Degen for a minute. I got Knights of Degen a while ago, and you're just seeing how crazy it's gotten. So let's just give you an example. Who's in this group? Obviously, they do a lot of memes. They do a lot of everything. But who did they have? Yeah, so in some of their group, a lot of celebrities are in their group. A lot of athletes are in their group. Let me bring it up. I think it's Michael Carter-Williams on the Orlando Magic are part of Knights of Degen. So on his shoes, he was wearing everything with Knights of Degen right now. They just bought a Solana horse, so now we have governance over that. The point is, every DAO is totally different. So look at why you want to be a part of it, and look at it as the opportunities that you can operate in it, not just, hey, I'm going to make X amount of money. It really is a status of a social club, and then you can be able to basically do very strategic moves if you're in the same DAO as someone else. Okay, so we went through that. I want to, Brent, have you heard about Constitution DAO?
No, except for when I heard you say it just now.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, so I was on Twitter the other night. It was like 3 a.m, and Constitution DAO, they're trying to buy the Constitution, and because it's going up for auction. And as you can see, this was just a couple days ago. This was a DAO that you can get in, and it's very simple. We're buying the Constitution. It will be governed by the people. Right now, they're up to, this is how much they've got to try to buy it.
Yeah, no, I saw the auction block where people were buying pages at a time.
Yeah. So it's coming up in like 3 days. So this is the whole thing to try to buy it. And so I entered this DAO. We'll see what happens. Again, it's talking about, let's just go through like what you're actually going to be getting. I think this is a great example. It's very simple. It's a one pager and just showing you like the extremes of projects of this. Okay. So let's go through it together. So it says, so what's going on? We're buying the U.S. Constitution. For the first time in 33 years, one of the 13 surviving copies of the official edition from the Constitution Convention will be publicly auctioned. It is the only copy that is still owned by a private collector. The proceeds from the auction will be given to a charity that has been established by the current owner. All right, so the Constitution DAO is a DAO that is pooling together money to win this auction. We intend to put the Constitution in the hands of the people. What will happen to the Constitution? Constitution DAO is seeking an esteemed partner to publicly display the Constitution. The eventual home must have the expertise to properly house, store, and maintain the artifact. Additionally, the community has expressed strong preferences for institutions that are free to the public and willing to cover the costs associated with housing the document. What is it? Why is it a DAO? Decentralization and cryptocurrency, Web3, have created structure that allow people to self-govern with unparalleled levels of autonomy and freedom. It is fitting we use this technology to honor and protect the greatest historical tool for human governance, the U.S. Constitution. So I'll go into a little bit more, but what are you thinking so far?
Yeah, so for those of you all who saw that part about the DAO and you saw the autonomy and decentralization, they say that because once these are set up, there are triggers put in place. And these triggers are based on what their intent is with the document. So as you join, and as this is an autonomous organization, a decentralized autonomous organization, only thing they need to happen is for the purchase to occur. And now a domino effect of other action items start to happen automatically. And that was the agreement when you joined the DAO. You knew what it was, the governance of that particular DAO. You knew what it was trying to accomplish. So the autonomous piece means that it won't get messy with people all of a sudden changing their mind or people saying, you know what, let's go in a different direction. It's already determined. And the automation is going to trigger a series of events to accomplish the sought out goal.
Awesome. So this, again, is something we'll see if it happens. They're going for it. I'm not sure why. Well, I think they're doing it for the max to make sure that they could win it. Will it get that high? Not really sure. We'll see what happens. So,
Doc, does it say what they do with the money if they don't win?
Yeah, I think so. You know what? They just rewrote it, but I think they just, well, it's in Juice. So let me bring this up. It's in Juicebox. So we just it'd give it back, but I can always check. Hold on one second. Let me see what it says. Where are the funds? Will the core team receive any of the raised funds? Am I receiving ownership? I think it shows. Maybe it's on make a contribution. It might just show like if we don't win, it just goes back into your account. Something like that.
Okay.
I put enough in that I was like, it's cool if it works. If not, it's just, I think it's better for more publicity than anything else. And this goes back into, so I would have to find it, Brent, but I'm almost positive that they just send it back. I put enough ETH that like, if they never give it back, I'm not like stressed out, because I always, when I do these projects, maybe it's just because I'm pessimistic. I'm always saying like, I expect this money to be lost. I expect this money, like something bad to happen, because it's just too many of the things. And we'll talk about Olympus DAO in a second, in which I really like that project, but still things that can happen. Actually Alchemics, we'll talk about them too. But like, that's the thing right here. Yeah. So the answer is, I'm pretty sure it all goes back. It is set up a wallet that the contributors, it's not like it's theirs. They made a separate wallet that they're not touching it. And that's another thing I'd like to say with DAOs. Like, a lot of people are thinking like, well, what about payroll? What's going on this? Guess what? A lot of these projects, they're just doing it pretty much pro bono. And then they already have governance or different tokens distributed to the main teams if something happens. And so it's one of those things like, oh, well, I want to have a paycheck. I want to do this. A lot of these people, like, is not happening. Like, so if you're looking for like, well, what does my healthcare benefits look like? It ain't going to happen, bro. Like, it's just, that's not what these new organizations, not what these DAOs are meant to do. They're very mission driven, and they also like to help a lot of people. Now, of course, there's going to be people that are trying to game the system all the time. I never want to be like, it's so like paradisiac, like they're always thinking about this, but like that's really the difference when you're doing a lot of these things.
Yep.
Let's see. Erica is saying, hello, just realized I was watching you all on Twitter. Well, I'm glad that you were on Twitter. That's great.
We talked about that 2 seconds ago.
Yep. So wherever you're watching, we appreciate you for watching. So wherever you're watching from, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, cool. All right. So that's what I've got going on. I've got 2 other ones that especially because Brent is the money man. Brent would know all about this. And I'm still confused about a few things. So I'm going to use the time to understand these things from Brent's point of view. Is that all right, Brent?
Yeah, let's do it.
I didn't ask you beforehand.
I like to just be throwing out there.
Okay, cool. Because I think this, and I'll emphasize this again. If I'm looking at like how to understand a DAO, I think Constitution DAO is a really good experiment to show how concise in a one-pager. If I was going to explain like what DAOs can do, they are mission driven to pool together resources or money to impact the world. That's what DAOs can do. And you're seeing this on an extreme level, trying to buy the Constitution. That's what they're trying to do. Okay, so this is one section. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing in 2 other things. All right, I'm going to see have you heard about this, Alchemics?
Nope.
Okay, so Alchemics, I want to talk about it because I'll just read what it says. Because self-repaying loans spend and save at the same time. Alchemics lets you reimagine the potential of DeFi by providing highly flexible instant loans that repay themselves over time. The synthetic protocol token is backed by future yield. Join the growing wave of alchemy, its destiny on your terms. No liquidations, only debt is time. Your only debt is time. That's interesting. Okay, so I want to talk about, I went into a deep dive this weekend. I know this is a little bit off, but it comes back to Olympus DAO, so it still has to do with the DAO. But I've really been deep diving into the world of DeFi and what's happening here. And so the first thing is I can explain more about this protocol, talk more, or initial thoughts or initial things. What are you thinking, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like one of those situations where people are pooling their resources together, like a liquidity pool type, and they're then using it almost like a central bank on a DeFi platform. So they're taking the structure of a central bank and put it on a DeFi platform, saying the terms in which you pay it back, what I would assume is because they're hosting your money, just like any bank or anybody else, they're investing it during that time period that they're hosting your money or while it's being pooled.
Yep.
As loans come in and go out and come in and go out, that money should be earning more as they invest it than what is owed back from the people who are pooling their money together. Therefore, they can give them a little piece of it back. And for those people taking loans, it has to be some type of repayment system, but they may not be repaying it with interest. They may just be repaying the principal amount. So that part, I don't know how it works. I'm actually interested in seeing it.
Okay, so we're gonna layer this in a second because I'm just gonna give you an idea because my friend mentioned this over the summer. I was like, this sounds illegal. It sounds illegal with what you're saying. So his thought was he was gonna purchase his next car, but instead of paying cash, make the deposit in Alchemex, and then to deposit it for double the amount and withdraw half of it to pay for the car. And then while he's just buying the car, the other half stays there and then increases in interest. Okay, so And I was like, that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about this. All right. So Alchemix is a protocol. Okay, so let's talk about this first because I think this is important, and then we'll go into the Olympus DAO, which is why we're seeing it. Oh, just as a little thing, if you see like the little things in people's profiles, you're seeing it. You're seeing what click they're in. So like, if we look at what Jay's doing, let me switch over to Jay. So like Jay right here, 3-3. If you look at that. That means he's into Olympus DAO because that's their signature right there. The same thing if you look at the Constitution, why you see it right here, that's when you know what group they're in. So if you see people like flash that in the chat, that means what DAO they're in. That's just a side point because I was like 3-3. Why does everyone? What in the world? It's just different signs. And of course, like any other exclusive group, people love to have things that other people don't understand. I'm a huge fan as well, but just keeping that in mind. Okay. So, so DeFi. Okay. So what was the question? Okay. So this is what I'm understanding. Okay. And I wrote some notes for you, Brent, because I actually was going to run this by you. Okay. So are you familiar with yield farming in DeFi? Yes. Okay. So the problem with yield farming, basically, or we'll talk about that, is basically you're deciding to do something, and because you're yielding or because you're doing something, in exchange, you're getting tokens back. Yes. Now, the problem with this is in DeFi 1 is people would do just a dump and pump where they're just dropping all the coins when they're seeing a certain market, or they would pump up a certain token. And then once it starts going up, they dump all their tokens. But if everyone dumps at the same time, then the value drops completely. That's in DeFi 1. So DeFi 2 is rewarding the ones that are doing things with token, and they're incentivizing them to hold them longer, which means then the value goes up and they can decide what they're going to do. So DeFi 2 allows you to decide, can I take some of the money to reinvest in other projects? I can leave some of the tokens, and you're going from there. So that comes in with Olympus DAO and the decentralized reserve currency. Okay? And so they are trying to do two different things. From instead of trying to replace money, they are trying to be the currency instead. So, we got a question. Hold on one second, making sure. Someone says, what's our sign for make your text bill with me? That's a good question. Actually, that's a really good thing. Erica, you brought up a really good point. I think I have it right now. Hold on to that. Okay. That's a really good point.
That's
funny.
I have a symbol that I wrote for us, and I just wrote it like 2 seconds ago.
See, people, look at it. I love this community. People are already like, we need one already. That's what I love seeing. Okay, good times. Erica, we're on it. Okay, good stuff. Okay, so let's go back to here. So they made an analogy that I like. Okay, so DeFi 1 was like renting your house. You're renting it, you're getting tokens, and you're just going. DeFi 2 is buying a house and renting it out. So I like what Brent was talking about, exactly the explaining of how it would work. So the protocol, it's a protocol-owned liquidity. So token swaps, and they're doing asset swaps of this as well. So it's token swaps, asset swaps, and LP tokens that represent a crypto, and then liquidity providers share as a pool. So let's go through this for a second. We're gonna go to
real quick. So we yesterday on with the IEA Crypto Bulls, we just had a conversation about liquidity provider tokens. Like that was part of our conversation yesterday. So yeah, I'm ready to dive into this.
Okay, cool. Okay, so if we're looking at this, right? Let's go here. All right, let's look at some things, okay? So they were talking about stake, treasury, balance, okay? What's locked? Okay, so the current APY, okay? So I'll put it just basics, what they were talking about, the numbers, and I want to hear what you think, Brent. They're talking about per week, they're getting an 8% interest, or they're making 8%. No, excuse me. They're making up to 8% every time they put it in this DAO. What do you 8% per week? Is that What do you think about those numbers getting that much?
That's insane. So you got to think the average savings account in the U.S. is, and shout out to Leon Noble, he always talks about this, is 0.05, between 0.05 and 0.06 for the year. So to get that in a week is insane. And my question becomes, how much do you have to put in? And what a lot of these liquidity providers and these platforms are doing, though, when it comes to DeFi funds, they're requiring, before it was like an option, like, let's create this liquidity pool over here, put your tokens, and we're going to move your tokens around for whatever reason you're becoming a market maker or whatever it might be. But now what I'm seeing is a lot of them are requiring you to indicate how long you're going to keep them in for as soon as you join.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So this one, it's a minimum of 7 days. It locks up for 7 days.
Okay. Yeah. And that lock period is becoming longer and longer as some of these people realize that if you're talking about somebody that's going to drop in 2-3 million, get an 8% bump and then just leave. They're realizing that hurts because, like you said, if $1 million in tokens just leaves and somebody doesn't know what's going on, they're immediately going, well, what just happened? Well, let me get out too. And then they get out, and then it becomes this domino effect. And at some point, and for anybody who's just listening to this going, well, what the hell are y'all talking about? Imagine being at a party, a mall, whatever it may be, and one person starts running. What do? You stop and just stare at that person to figure out why they're running. And then imagine if somebody starts running after them. What do? You stop and you want to figure out why is that person chasing them. Now you're no longer focused on the person running. You're focused on the person chasing them. And you're trying to figure out why they're chasing as opposed to why the person's running now. But if a whole crowd just starts running, you just start running. You have no idea why you're running, what's happening. And more importantly, you don't care. You're just like, I'm not going to be the last person standing here facing whatever it is they're running away from. It goes down to the basic human ideology of hunter-gatherer. When you're hunting and all of a sudden somebody runs away from danger, your mind instinctively says, don't be the last person facing the danger. You can't, you're hardwired for it. You don't even know that's the reason why you're doing it. It is instinctual from evolution. That's how you stay alive. You don't become the last person standing there to face the danger. That's what happens when people leave these investments and no one knows exactly why. It's what Doc alluded to earlier. It's just a kind of different way to explain it.
I love it. A better way to explain it. I love it. Great stuff. And so we're going to go through the breakdown because I like how it works. And then we're going to talk about, this is what I plan on doing this week. I have a call on Thursday about one of the people that are a major investor in doing this and just talking about his portfolio, what he's been doing. So more to that next week, but let's just break this down. So it first says the Treasury revenue, bonds and LP fees. So the bond sales and LP fees increase the Treasury revenue and lock in liquidity and help control the ohm supply, which is their token and everything like that for Olympus. So then the growth, the Treasury growth, Olympus Treasury. Treasury inflows is used to increase Treasury balance and back outstanding ohm tokens and regulate staking APYs. And that the APYs is the annual
percentage
yield. Yep. And then staking rewards, the ohm token, compounds yields automatically through a Treasury-backed currency with intrinsic value. So again, we go back to the reason the DeFi 2.0 is different is they're showing they're incentivizing you to hold on to that token. There's at least a portion of them as you're giving them the money and everything like that.
Now, Doc, I do want to say, like, when you read this, and anybody who's reading this in finance and they see the word intrinsic value, that means it's a value that they place on it. There's no real value.
Yeah.
And that word intrinsic value, they did that on purpose. So it's a very clever way to tell the world, like, if somebody comes back and say, well, yeah, I don't understand what backs this. Like, what is the real value? It's intrinsic. We said it. It's on the website. But because we just look at it and we just brush past that word, I want to make sure when you're watching our video that you understand it. You have to stop and look at that.
I love it. Thank you very much. Important stuff. This is what the purpose of being in the group, talking about it, seeing if it's right for you, all of those things. And of course, there's going to be a link down below for the Discord group. Make sure that you're taking the time and you're being purposeful before just jumping in. And that's what the purpose of the group is. That's what we discuss in the Discord and all of those things, and what we're going to be releasing next week. These are the kind of topics and going through it. So they talk about the sustainable staking, what that is. And then they talk about true store of value. Doesn't exist yet. A store of value is an asset that is stable or increase in value over time. Stable coins are vulnerable to inflationary policies, while Bitcoin or Ethereum suffer from market crashes or manipulation. None of these is a true store of value.
Yeah, and so when you talk about true stores of value, you're looking at like gold, silver, things that it's a hard material, or it's an asset that actually has a store of value. And clearly they're telling you again, read what they're saying. They're telling you that it doesn't exist yet for this platform, and they're explaining what it is in a way that's so ambiguous.
Yep.
The average person just appreciates that it's written, but they're not looking at what it means. Mm-hmm. This means that it's not a true store of value, and when you're investing in it, it can fluctuate, and they're redirecting your kind of, what's that called? It's a word for it. When you redirect somebody's attention to something else while doing the magic trick.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
and they're doing it because they're redirecting you to Bitcoin and Ethereum.
I love it. And so this is the thing. Let me bring on to the faces before we go into. I'm going to be very clear with this. This is highly speculative of what they're doing right here. To me, I view it as two things. Number one, I'm seeing these VC investors. They're like, we're going to do this, and they made X to X. I'm like, okay, do I believe it wholeheartedly? I still believe it's highly volatile, but they're making money. I will like to partake in this, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what we're talking about. So I want to show you entering the app, and I'm just being honest. Like, listen, it's the same thing we were talking about the other week, Brent. Like, some people, I'm like, okay, so like, how much is this? They're like, well, what is fiat? What is, like, do you understand? This is nothing. This is a construct of your mind. I'm like, okay, I understand that, but I still have a mortgage. I still have these things, and so. Right here, I wanted to see what you thought about this. I'm going to send this to you after we get off of this call. I'm gonna ask you some more things, but like, this is what people are doing. And so, like you were talking about, how much people are connecting, and they're putting just a couple $100. They're doing a couple things. Some whales are putting in a lot. Some are just putting in a couple $100 and then just diversifying using this. So I wanted to see. Maybe you need to do more deep dive, and you know me, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to put in some and see what happens. Yeah. But what do you think about this? Is this an example of they're overloading the senses? They've got a lot of charts for people to not understand. What's your impression looking at this?
Now, number one is the fact that they're using a lot of terms that you're familiar with, but the terms necessarily aren't applicable for the cryptocurrency space. Like, it's not a treasury. It's not a treasury. But when you see stuff like this, you feel comfortably like, oh, the government issues treasuries because that's who can issue a treasury. So, yeah, like, I'm curious. Maybe it's something I just don't know yet, that how they can use the word treasury with this. But then also too, when you read bond discounts underneath, if you look to the left side, and it's dashboard stake. Yeah. Yep. So those bonds, a bond discount, for anybody who's not familiar with it, normally that's the percentage that you get back in the form of a coupon. So imagine if somebody, I'm just gonna take this sheet of paper. Oh no, this is actually better because there's a ruler on it. So imagine you have this sheet of paper, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna use my nifty little pen for a moment. Imagine each number is a coupon. And so when you see a total number, if the total number is, what's this, 23, mm-hmm. Every time you hit a coupon discount rate, you get a coupon for 1%. Then you get the coupon for 2, then 3, and you tear it off. And back in the day, you would go to a bank and actually hand them the coupon. You would literally tear it off of your bond, hand it to the banker, and they would give you a certain amount of money. And this was your receipt on how you got paid. They're using that word bond discount, and some of the numbers are negative. So I'm really curious what the heck it means. So I do need to dive into that.
And I'm like, this is Brent. I'm looking at him like, this is a thing for Brent. This is I'm like, I know my limits. This is Brent's territory right here. And I can give you just a summary now. After I've been reading, I've been listening to as many podcasts, the different creators, all of these things. From what I can understand, the bond and the discounts, how they're using it is when you're buying a certain amount, they're giving you a discount when you're buying in bulk. And they're also telling you in real time what's happening. I think, like you were saying, they're using words that allow you to understand the concept, but they're using it in different ways because, number one, crypto is so volatile and the different tokens that you're getting is so different. I think that's when it comes into the 7-day holds and different things like that, that why it's wildly changing. I could be wrong. That's what I can gather when I'm listening and I'm trying to read about these things. But that's what's happening. The reason, and we go back into like, well, why did you even bring up Alchemix? There's other platforms or other protocols like Alchemix that are on Olympus DAO that are working together. So when you're doing these different exchanges, you can then be in different protocols, getting different yields and diversifying your portfolio. So before, Olympus DAO was only doing straight ETH. Now you can do all these different protocols and be able to basically spread out your risk over different things. And then again, they're getting a certain percentage in the 7-day lock. A lot of them are putting back into the money into this, and then they're taking out some and then borrowing, and they're just basically building this flywheel as they're doing this. Again, on Thursday, I'm going into talking to different ones, but this one guy, Brent, and one of the guys, he's building his entire VC fund on just straight doing this with DeFi and then taking it out and then purchasing other businesses that way.
Yeah, no, I met somebody who was doing something very similar, and they've just been on OHM and some of the other platforms that allow for pooling, and they said they told me they were, in the millions and still climbing from being on these platforms. So, for me, if I'm going to play this game, I'll say this, and then this is just complete honesty with our community. If I'm going to play this game, I'm going to play it to the fact that I don't get burned.
Yeah,
I'm not going to play it to win initially because I'm going to enter like Doc. I'm going to assume I'm going to lose everything tomorrow. And my question that I'm going to ask myself is that okay or is it not? And if it's not okay, then I'm not going to play at all. If it is okay, then I'm going to play. But what happens is as soon as I start playing, I'm paying very close attention to the rules, the other players, and what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong during the game. So when the next game comes, I'm prepared and I can be more confident in how I play the game.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, this is, again, more to come. We're probably going to talk offline. We'll talk about it in the community. Remember, let me make sure that you have the link. I'm going to drop it in the chat in one moment. But again, these are the things we're going to be talking about every single week. We have a project coming up in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. But as you can see it, correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, I might be biased, but I don't see very many programs, especially in smart contracts or NFTs, giving us this kind of range of topics than what we provide right here.
No, not at all. That's pretty. Yes, no.
Okay, cool. So again, we're here to help you see where you can start benefiting. And listen, you're not late. This is just getting started, everybody. Like it's not, you're not late at all, but it's important that you start taking time to understand this, see if this is the right thing for you, and then make your own decision. So right now you'll see the Discord link. You'll be able to drop it. You'll be able to join the community, all those things. We have more things to come in the next couple of weeks. Before we get out of here, Brent, anything else? Tell the good people or anything like that?
No, everybody, thank you for being with us. And you definitely want to see what we're working on in the future because you might be involved.
Excellent. All right, everybody, have a great, wonderful day for the rest of the week. We'll see all of you next week, same time. And again, have a great day.